So thank you to all of you first to be there today. And my name is Cecilia Sanoma-Brice. So I'm a researcher at CNRS, French National Research Center in urban sociology, and co-leader with Olivier Evrard from CEA, Atomic Energies Committee, of Mitate Lab, which is an international research project from CNRS started in 2020 on Fukushima disaster. And by bringing together researchers of various nationalities, mainly Japanese and French, but not only, and promoting multidisciplinarity, the international research program Mitate Lab aims to explore the consequences of the disaster from both of a human and environmental point of view in all their complexity of this disaster. And in order to stimulate interactions between our different fields of research on Fukushima, we have decided to organize a series of seminars that will involve, as far as possible, a researcher in the humanities and social sciences, a researcher in the natural sciences, and an artist. So if there is no other question, I will ask to Florian Goldmann to make his presentation. So Florian Goldmann is working in the field of visual arts, artistic research and media theory. He studied sculpture, media art and experimental film in Edinburgh, Athens and Berlin, graduating from Berlin University of the Arts in 2012, and from 2014 to 2018, he was a fellow at the Research Training Center Visibility and Visualization at Potsdam University. In 2019, he was an artist in residence in the residency program of Nakanojo Biennale, Japan, as well as at Künstlersdorf Schöppingen in Germany. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, I'm really sorry again for having kept you waiting. I've somehow managed through the pandemics to largely I've not been using these formats to talk too much, so there was some technical issue that I had to figure out. I hope that this screen sharing thing will work with me.
You should have access to the screen sharing option. In the middle, in the lower part, you should have an icon.
Yes, I'll try this just now.
It seems to work.
Because I haven't really it would be difficult to transfer this as I have it in different folders and haven't really prepared slides. So, but it works, right? You can.
It works.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, so I've been interested in I became so I have this project on catastrophe modeling, and I think it started with what you can see here. It's just after the earthquake, the tsunami and the ensuing accident at the power plant in Japan. I was watching this international version of NHK online, and they very soon after the 11th of March, maybe on the second day, they had this miniature model in the TV studio, of which you see an excerpt here, and they used it to to explain what was going on at the plant, to illustrate certain measures that were taken and attempts at kind of mitigating the accident as it was proceeding on site. And so so I took some screen recordings at the time, and like I found that quite peculiar because like just, you know, like I guess just from television here, I was more used to like digital spaces of explanation, or like it just kind of surprised me to see a physical miniature model used in a TV station format. And like miniature models were something that I was already interested in as part of project I was working on before, on like the just kind of on how they were used in museums in different contexts, standing in for certain situations in history, and illustrating them in a way that's not purely illustrative, but somehow that can be utilized to aid process of explaining an event, a historical event, rather than kind of just showing images with like a physical model. There's a level of interaction that that allows to kind of go different ways in narrating and explaining the event that's depicted. And so a couple of years, like 2 years later, like I was kind of doing some, like I kept doing some research then since seeing this model on, but not very targeted, kind of in going different directions on the term catastrophe modeling, which is as such as a term used in the insurance sector, for instance. And so I was like, I'm kind of the way I'm working is quite like sort of like a crab walk sort of approach, reading into different disciplines and maybe take terms very literal, and thereby then ending up juxtaposing really quite diverse source material. So the so as said, like the kind of in juxtaposition to this sort of like depiction of the event in a miniature model used by TV house experts of different fields and political decision makers to explain and to maybe to calm down also the viewing audience, kind of so the like basically kind of then looking at the way that catastrophe is modeled in an insurance context. This is sort of like the scope that was within which like I was kind of looking for examples, and within which I tried to kind of also work with this term, like somehow the catastrophe modeling term, which sort of implies this paradox of being able to model, to quantify, so to say, and to make measurable the immeasurable of a catastrophic event, which yeah, in an insurance context, of course, is based on the value of property and the likelihood and the expensiveness of an event kind of happening to this property. So as I was like looking So as I was looking through the internet, I found out about this this retired guy living in Bavaria, in the southeast of Germany, who had built a miniature model himself of the damaged power plant just after the accident had happened, and like he had like a basic website where he informed about this project, and so I contacted him and went to conduct an interview and have him explain his model and the different design decisions that he had taken when making it, and also his like kind of his intentions, just the purpose of why he built this model. And he ended up talking a lot about like different materials that he used, a lot of things that were also parts previously of like certain apparatuses, and was really kind of like this bricoleur that like he was like super fascinated about all these different things, and but also always he's seen like the sort of like the ambiguities, like he was working with the ambiguities of these different materials, and packaged a lot of different sort of references into this. And really kind of talking to him, he really reflected the discourse in Germany at that time, because like as you might not know, that so Germany like a previous like pre-Angela Merkel government had decided to phase out nuclear power in Germany, which then Angela Merkel, just not long before Fukushima had happened, decided to kind of just to just hold a little bit, to just kind of extend the period of keeping the nuclear power stations in Germany a little bit longer, to allow for some more research for the obvious problems that come with the technology. But so when Fukushima happened, this caused like an outdraw, like a very strong reaction in the German public, which so I think it only took a couple of weeks until the government decided then to even accelerate the process of phasing out. And I guess there's like 3 nuclear power stations still running in Germany, which are supposed to be shut down by the end of this year. So yeah, I mean, he was kind of like talking about all these things, and really kind of mobilizing the model. He also there was some sort of like miniature solar panel that he had integrated into the model, which kind of which for him also again was it wasn't at that time when we talked, at least it wasn't for him just to kind of show a working alternative to nuclear power, but more something like kind of a means to allow him to talk about the difficulties of it's also especially I guess in his in the region where he lives, it's a strong topic because there was a lot of like solar power was subventionized strongly, and so there's problems also with recycling the different materials. So yeah, and like also use this model to go to schools in this area and to talk to children and to kind of to explain to them in a very in a tangible way what had happened, and also how this technology works. So in comparison, or kind of in juxtaposition with this miniature model that had been used in the Japanese television, I found it really interesting how how like two different approaches or two different understandings of what a model could be like were portrayed in each of them. Like so I mean, the one that was used in NHK, it's sort of like it was quite interesting because like over the time it like it would like simultaneously to what was going on site, it would change its appearance. Like when these hydrogen explosions happened, it almost simultaneously had happened in this miniature model. But so it's kind of, it's like so yeah, it's been modeled in the process, but then so of course it's like it was a TV program, so the people sitting in front of the television are kind of kept as passive observers of what was going on, and you had these experts there that were basically kind of reassuring the people that everything was under control, that there were, you know, they had like this thing wasn't working, but now they had these like helicopters that they were using to kind of pour water in there, and just the symbolism of like men, it was all men kind of explaining what was happening on a miniature sort of landscape that was standing right in front of them, kind of like had a, it was very suggestive of kind of just kind of just kind of this control paradigm, like this kind of one-sided form of communication. Whereas the way that this retired man in Bavaria used the miniature model with the children, I thought it's more kind of, it's productive, it's poetic in the way that he sort of goes there and like interacts with the children, and they learn, they actually learn to kind of through tangibility, like what's going on, and also how maybe like similar things might be going on in you know, like in industrial facilities around where they're living, or maybe just through the conversation over the model kind of understand better how the production and consumption of energy affects them, and also it's just kind of embedded in the immediate surrounding and in their environment, and maybe also understand a little bit better about the fragilities of these systems, because I think that's something that that's been quite that's been a large lesson taken on in like the media discourse here, is that just the fragility of just the globalized system of production and consumption. So I haven't really so maybe I'll just go through these images. I don't know, have I used a lot of time already? It's so like I'm just showing you images of like two different exhibitions that I did related to the work. This one here is very recent in Berlin, just in May. It was on, and it's really like so I'm kind of, so I do video work, and I work a lot of with like found footage, and as I said earlier, I have sort of like a crab walk approach, so it's kind of difficult for me also to talk about this project in a linear narration somehow, because it's like maybe the way also that that I set up this exhibition here particularly is kind of like it's you have like different stations where you could talk about it's very packed with like different kind of pathways, and you could talk about all different things at different corners, and there's a lot of like cross references. okay, but like, so this is like, so there's these 2 examples. What I should also talk about in regards to the project is is my understanding of the or like kind of like where I went with the catastrophe modeling term, because like for me like realized like and there's some things that I was that I'm kind of thinking about and working on, that Valerie was just talking about, the normalization of events of catastrophe. It's like it's something like beyond nuclear power accidents. I think I can sense that this is like it's like how technologies develop from quite an early stage. There's a process of normalization, and very important for this process. It's kind of almost like it's a factor in the equation of catastrophe modeling, is the term risk, which like its earliest form was used in Italian city-states during medieval time, when it was sort of like it was kind of like a semantic device to quantify the threats of the medieval sea, and yeah, to basically just give it a price by by outlining what potential events of like potential accidents would be. The risk term like helped making trade possible, like on the ocean, beyond what was considered possible before, because like quantifying risk and kind of thereby, you know, like making it insurable in early form, allowed trade to happen, like by basically by splitting trader and investor. That's something that happened in medieval times in Italy, and this the term, as I said, the term risk is like fundamental for this, because it helped defining risk in defining certain events that can be handled by taking a conscious decision, and by kind of making clear the distinction to threats, like basically the rest of contingency events that one isn't like, that can't be so clearly circumscribed and thereby described as risks. And this is like what constitutes insurance. And in a way, like what happens today with like these catastrophe models that are used in the reinsurance industry, it's similar, just maybe that the realm of the contingent realm that's accessed and transformed into into a space where it kind of widens the human scope of action. So so reinsurance companies model catastrophe, like kind of specific, they give a price to specific potential events that lie in the future, and by pricing them and by developing new financial tools to ensure they widen human scope of action. So there's this kind of by extension, kind of this makes possible building nuclear power stations in areas that are prone to earthquakes, and yeah, so this always kind of yields new complexities and kind of widens the space of uncertainty, which is maybe which is sort of like kind of this process of normalization that Valerie was talking about, in a broader sense, in a kind of in a sense that applies to just kind of, you know, culture and technology developing in a broader sense. And so there's like so because she also one maybe interesting point, I'm not sure, I feel like I'm kind of going all over the place and maybe time is up, but like maybe one thing to mention in this context is that indeed after so after 9/11 there has been this has had an influence on the security design of nuclear power plants, because like I think whenever something like this happens, it is like by regulatory authorities and maybe even by the general public, this is kind of brought forward towards nuclear power industry to kind of develop new, as I call it, auxiliary technologies to make sure that something like this can't happen, like someone flying with an airplane into a nuclear power plant. So at that time in Germany, there has been this has been something that nuclear power station companies were tasked with developing security concepts for, and they had like, there were different things about kind of making clouds, kind of making applying cloud machines around nuclear power stations so that they are rendered invisible in the extent of someone trying to attack with an airplane. And so this I think like just because nuclear technology didn't really have a test format, it sort of just developed like kind of these safety technologies developed on the go, like, you know, like from the accidents, certain things were learned, and then new technologies were developed, like extra layers. The containment technology was something that weren't that I don't think was part of the initial kind of setup, and so I'm sorry if this if I'm kind of confusing you, kind of just with my talk going in different directions and showing these images in parallel. Maybe it's a good moment to stop and maybe you can ask me questions. Like I think like some of the things that are mentioned now are phrased much more clear in this little publication that I made as part of this exhibition in Nakanojo in Goma Prefecture that you mentioned earlier. Like I made a little book, and it has a text that it's also been translated into Japanese. And yes, can I? Is it a good moment to maybe stop? I'm sorry for.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation, which is very. I mean, you putting some idea in all the debate, and maybe very useful for all of us, because we On the same time, even if we try to have some critical position or objective position, for example, visiting the memorial on Fukushima, using that you are pointing out, that means some model and so on. We also, on the same time, producing such kind of model. And so we are always in between both. I mean, for example, trying to mapping something. And this is exactly what you described with, we have to select just some factor and some information and create some environment which will be maybe very far from the reality, or not so complex. I mean, the reality, as we all know, is very, very complex. And so we just choose to focus on some points. And so we are creating some other reality. And just to help to how you say, to have some sorry, I lose my word, to have some factor for create or for I lose my word in English, that's not good. To try to explain a discourse that you have in fact already building. And I don't know if it's that way, what you want to explain with all your work, but maybe I thought it was a little bit thing, so I don't know if you have some comment about it, if you could understand what I said or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I'm not so. I guess like working in an art context kind of allows one to be less specific, maybe about you know, about what you're trying. Like, you know, it can be more. Maybe it should be more open and kind of just, you know, like kind of provide a certain kind of setting within which certain things can be discussed, but like without providing without claiming to provide solutions. And so what I didn't really talk about just now is this thought that I had about like the model being models being interfaces of common negotiation of one's immediate like environment. So at this biennial in Nagano-jo, like I had like two, like I was showing you the pictures, right? And I had like two different locations where I was able to show my work. One was this traditional building that I just showed you, where I was showing, among other things, the miniature model that this Bavarian retired man built, and the other was the local folk and history museum, like just for local, just kind of for very really more than just a museum, but like a communal place where kind of people go and drink coffees and stuff like that also. And so they had this miniature model that some teacher had built on some point many decades ago, and they were thinking of getting rid of it, and it basically kind of shows the wider area around Nagano-jo, which is like at the very end of Gunma Prefecture, so part of the work was talking to people, like as I was in the museum, talking to people about what's depicted there. Basically, initially there was like different local sites pointed out there, and like what I did was to take off all these little signposts to just have the landscape depiction, and then to just talk to local people about the landscape. And there was a lot of like there's a quite a strong awareness that this specific area has been strongly affected also from the plume from Fukushima, just because it's like this mountain front, and there was rain at that time. So everyone knows this, but no one talks about it loudly. Just kind of just like in situations like this, people would talk about like kind of, you know, this and this valley and this and this pathway kind of being really badly affected and stuff, but it's kind of like unofficial. So so here this this miniature model that initially had the purpose of kind of showing natural sites and historical sites and so on, became an interface to negotiate and to kind of exchange about the specific risks of the area. And like there's some literature, I guess, about how risk mapping, like the difficulties of risk mapping, because it's sort of like it's also some centralized institutions kind of just condenses all these data and then kind of makes maps that show clear lines between areas of risk and areas of like lesser risk and so forth. And I felt like that this is actually very strong as a form of mutual assurance, also like as a format within which people can exchange situated knowledge that they have. And like I found out many different things. I mean, people were like kind of talking about fallout, but also about Yanba Dam, which I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this, but it's kind of like for many decades, it's like one of these big projects, this dam that kind of will flood a very large area, and it's like there's a lot of local conflicts based on this massive project, which basically has to do with Tokyo, and kind of shows for the people again how there's some sort of like colony actually to the city, and how things that happen there actually happen. So that kind of Tokyo as a machinic ensemble sort of kind of keeps working. And so also some people were talking about old place names that would kind of encapsulate knowledge about flooding risk of certain rivers and stuff, and like how insurance companies are like just certain forces within the municipality had actually led to the changing of names of certain place where these sort of like risks, this kind of situated knowledge about risk was encapsulated. So so yeah, I'm not kind of, I think within this specific setting, like I wasn't kind of trying to suggest certain solutions, but like just it was a provision of this space of interaction. And yeah, I guess that's how I worked within the framework of the topic in the specific context.